Welcome to Elevate Your Consciousness. I am your host, Birma, a spiritual teacher. During meditation, I discovered that I had 3 previous lives and 2 future lives. My first life was about 300 years ago. And in this recording, you will hear about how I felt abandoned as a kid, and that with great mastery comes great sacrifice. In my previous life, I was a Chinese Shaolin Kung Fu Master. At a young age, my parents brought me to the monastery. It took a lot of sacrifice for me to become a master. I sacrificed my parents. I sacrificed love. I sacrificed freedom. There was a lot of sacrifice for me to become a master. I suffered a lot of pain, a lot of physical pain, and most of all, a lot of internal pain for not having my parents, because my mom and dad left me in the monastery. I couldn't understand why would they do that. Why would they leave me there to be punished, to suffer, to stay there with the monks who were so strict on me? My parents left me, and I could not understand for the life of me why would they leave me there. And every day I will look to see if I see them in that life. My mom and dad abandoning me, but specifically my mom, because I felt that I was being punished to be left in the monastery because the monks were not my family. They're not my parents, and I couldn't understand it. It was not logical for me to be sent to the school to endure physical pain. For what? Why would they leave me here? That's all I could think about as a kid, and I suffered greatly for that. Being a master comes with great sacrifice. I sacrificed my freedom as a kid. I could have been playing outside with the other kids in China. Yet I was in this monastery. I would pray that my mom return and takes me out of here. But she never did. But she never took me out of the monastery. And I remember when I was a teenager and I went outside the monastery. I was a young man then, and I saw the most beautiful woman with her black hair, and she smiled. And all I could think about, what does her hair smell like? She's so beautiful, and I wish I could touch her. And when I went home to the monastery that night, all I could think about was her smell, her, touching her, and I became aroused. Of course, I was a man. I was a straight man, and I would pleasure myself at night just thinking about her. But I would be careful that the masters would not see me. I would do it under the blanket. But most of my life was a lot of physical hardship, practicing and practicing Kung Fu. And I would meditate as well. And with meditation, you get to the truth. Just like what we read in the books, that you become enlightened and you're able to go into different dimensions and find things from your future and things from your past. We will sit for 2 hours meditating, seeking enlightenment, because that's what our books teaches us. We are monks, but we are Buddhist monks. We believe in the teaching of Buddha, and he became enlightened. And that's what we practice. We practice to try and obtain enlightenment ourselves. And when you sit there for 2 hours, you find it. You find that there's so much more. The universe just opens up to you. It's a portal. And life in the monastery, as a kid, you have your free times sometimes, but it is very structured. You sit with many other kids, but you have to behave. You can't sit there talking. You talk for a little bit, and you do have your bad seeds. You have bad kids as well. Then you have your times where you have to practice, and you have to do a lot of practice, and you have to do it properly. Because if you don't do it properly, because if you're not squatting properly the way you're supposed to, the teacher will hit you with a stick. He'll hit you on the head and he'll hit you on the legs, especially if you don't have the proper form and your back is not straight enough. He'll hit you. So you have to make sure that you're standing correctly. So mastery doesn't come by magic just like that and you become a master. No, mastery was hard, very hard, because especially you have to give up your family. And that was the worst part for me. That was the worst part for me, giving up my mom and my dad in that life, especially to something that I didn't understand as a kid. I understood the sacrifice later on as an adult, but as a kid, I suffered. I suffered not having my parents. I suffered that they gave me up to the monastery. So with mastery comes great sacrifice, great personal, physical, and mental sacrifice that I had to overcome in that life. And it was not easy. And later as an adult, I became a master. And I was not as bad as my teacher. I was not hitting the kids as bad. And you had some bad little kids too that you had to teach. And those kids, I would put them to the side and talk very stern to them. I would grab them hard so they would understand. But I was not hitting them in the head like it was done to me. And they hit me a lot on the head if I didn't do the exercise properly. In that life, I had a best friend in the monastery, and his name was Ling Su, and he became my brother. He was like my brother, and as a matter of fact, all those kids that I grew up with in the monastery, they became my brothers. Because the monastery is like a small town, it's a small place, and these people becomes your family. And yes, you're going to have disagreements with some of them, and some of them you're not going to like. It's just like being in school. You don't like everybody in school, but then you grow up with these people, and you have brothers and sisters, and some of them you don't even like, but you grow up with these people, and they become part of your family, and you love them. You end up loving them. And the master who were mean to you, who hit you with a stick, they become your parents. And you understood why they did that. You understood that they wanted you to do the movement properly, the technique properly, that your body needed to be in a certain position in order for it to be correctly done. They wanted you to succeed. You understand that as an adult, but as a kid, you don't. And you suffer, and you cry. But as an adult, you understand why it needed to be done this way. And you're okay with that. And those masters, they become your parents. And you take care of them when they get older. And you are their kids. You take care of them, and you make sure that they're comfortable. And you make sure that they are okay before they pass. You worship them. It is just like you become the parents of all those children that you have to teach from a young age. That is your family, because that is all you know, and that's all you know. And through meditation, I had already known about this communication with my future self, and of this life as who I am now. And I said, wow, very surprised. I can't believe that I became a woman, because I thought that I will always, in my future reincarnation, I will be a man, because we believe in reincarnation. And I really thought that I would become a man, not a woman. And to become a woman with darker complexion, it was very interesting to me. And interesting that the hair is curly. All I've known and seen in China was straight hair. And that in the future I would become a woman, a beautiful woman with curly hair and darker complexion, I would have never imagined. I always thought I would be a man. Don't forget to come back because there will be a lot more messages received during meditation to elevate our consciousness.